Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Our teacher for this week is Carl Jung. Carl Jung is our teacher this week, and one of the things that have always impressed me the most about Carl Jung was that even though he was the father of analytical psychology, really building one of the first clear sciences around psychology, he was very adamant about spirituality and that this needs to be included in our understanding of humans. So much so that when you read through Carl Jung's work, it almost feels as though he had a real Buddhist influence in his life, which doesn't seem to be the case, but that almost seems the way that he's leaning in his work. Leanne, a very good morning. It is awesome to see you. Sunbury, good morning. A happy Thursday to you all. Let's get right into today's message from Carl Jung. And if I could slap a title on what the message today would be, it would be something to do with self-sabotage. A message on self-sabotage. So I do want to make it clear that I don't believe in self-sabotage at all. We could ask the question, and the question could be, do we sometimes get in our own way? And the answer is very clearly yes. We probably mostly get in our own way. But I wouldn't label that self-sabotage. I think self-sabotage is just a misunderstanding of what this system of a human being is trying to do. Anthony, good morning, man. Awesome seeing you there. Right, let's get in on today's message. Today's message starts with, nothing within us wants to sabotage our future. But we all have old behavior that did in fact once help us feel safe back in the past. And in our subconscious, that is a successful pattern. Any old behavior that helped us feel safe becomes a successful pattern in our mind. While objectively that old behavior doesn't serve us right now, successful patterns will be played on repeat in an attempt to find safety. So not so much self-sabotage, but more self-preservation that needs evolving. Carl Jung speaks about it this way. He says, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Knowing your own darkness will give you empathy for the humans around you. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, bringing what is unconscious, subconscious to the surface. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. He says real liberation comes not from glossing over or repressing painful states of feeling, but only from experiencing them to the full. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. In every adult, there lurks a child, an eternal child, something that is always becoming, is never completed, and calls for unceasing care, attention, and education. That is the part of the personality which wants to develop and become whole. The practical result of bringing into the light the aspects of ourself that were previously held in darkness is this. Now that we are not hiding and trying to look away, we can see with some clarity exactly how an old part of us is just trying to find safety. And now that we are not at war with ourselves, we can effectively help a trapped inner child to evolve. Maggie, a very good morning. It's awesome seeing you there. Right, let's get into today's meditation. Today's meditation is called A Sense of Self, And in this experience, we are inviting these inner children that we have to come and sit and breathe along with us. And during our experience today, we'll have a conversation with those inner children. So if you're ready, hey Nella, good morning, I just saw you pop in. And Leshna, very good morning. We are ready to go. You can close your eyes and let's float away together on today's journey, starting with the first few big breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine, lift the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, then let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. Every time you breathe out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and also drop your head. While you continue your own full body breathing, rising as you inhale and falling as you exhale, we are inviting our inner children to come and sit with us for this breathing exercise. This always feels to me a little bit like the grade 1 teacher calling the kids onto the mat with her. She's going to sit and read. It's story time. Invite your inner children to come and sit. I always use quite simple examples for this exercise, but you are welcome to use whatever examples you want to pay attention to. I'm inviting sadness and anger and fear to come and sit with me. The part of me that sometimes feels sad, the part of me that often feels angry, and the part of me that sometimes reacts in fear, has very fearful thoughts. Ask them to come and sit and breathe along with us. Just imagine you could see the rising and falling of these inner children. You can let them know. Let your own inner children know that this space is being created because we really want to listen. We want to understand. Carl Jung mentions that we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by bringing the darkness to the surface. Making what is unconscious conscious. He also described that when we don't do this, we don't realize how our subconscious controls us. It is only when we become more familiar with how our subconscious narratives pull the strings that we can in fact step outside of this old programming and make new choices in freedom. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, helping our bodies stretch, adjust, and settle down into as much comfort as possible. And we're asking these inner children to join us. Take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward. And roll out your neck muscles. Going forward and to the left, and also forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. See if you can tilt your head towards the left while you tilt your hips towards the right. Curving your spine into an S from your head down to your tailbone. And then change direction, do the other side. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, as much as we are able to at least, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. If you don't have the time to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is a really good place to stop. However, if you are here for the whole journey, then with every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it the longest, slowest exhale you possibly can. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body and feel how softness slowly settles in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening, and feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath, but hold it only for as long as it feels really comfortable, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, remind yourself of these inner children that we invited to sit with us this morning. Take your next big breath. The three examples that I'm using today are sadness, anger, and fear. You are welcome to use your own examples. They don't have to be these. I'm just choosing the simplest examples to work with. Our journey is inviting these parts of us to speak, to remind us of how these things speak within us, and that we might not always notice how this goes. The point of this is, as Carl Jung mentions, is to make what is subconscious conscious, bringing what is subconscious into our conscious awareness. And in doing so, we form a deeper understanding of how our minds work. We'll turn our attention first to sadness, the part of you that sometimes feels sad. And as a reminder, when you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are asking sadness to speak. Remind yourself of those moments when you feel sad. What are the kinds of thoughts that come up into your mind? What are the words that sadness speaks with? What are the events that sadness recalls? And very often, it is the same events, the same words, the same sentences, on repeat every time we feel sad. And this is the point, to remind ourselves of what that is. So as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are asking sadness to speak. Take your next big breath. As you listen to sadness, can you form an image, a picture of what this part of you might look like? It is not essential that you find an image, but it's very helpful to attempt to create an image of what this sad part of you might look like when it feels so sad. Turning towards sadness, I want you to ask sadness this question. And after the question's been asked, just see if there's any response from sadness. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not, but more often than not, we get a very clear response. So as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, say, sadness, when you feel so sad, what is it that you're afraid will happen? What is it that you're afraid will happen? Take your next big breath. Thank sadness for being here, for showing up, for being vulnerable, for speaking, because it takes courage to be heard. We'll shift our attention to anger, the part of you that sometimes, or perhaps even often, feels angry. And as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are asking anger to speak. Remind yourself of how anger speaks within you. What are the words, what are the sentences on repeat when you feel so angry? And while you listen to anger speaking, see if you're able to form an image of what this angry part of you would look like while it speaks. Take your next big breath. And turn towards anger and ask anger this very specific question. Say, anger, when you feel so angry, what is it that you really want for us? What is it that you really want for me? And just listen. See what this response is. You can take your next big breath. Thank anger for showing up, for being here, for being heard. Because it's an act of bravery to be seen and to be heard. Then we'll turn our attention to fear, the part of you that sometimes feels scared. And with your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, we're asking fear to speak. Remind yourself of how fear speaks within you. What are the words and the sentences on repeat? What are the feelings, the emotions that rise? And see if you can form an image of this scared part of you. What would this look like when you feel scared? Take your next big breath. And then turn towards fear and ask it this very specific question. Say to it, fear, when you feel so scared, what is your deep desire in that moment? What do you desire for us? What do you really want for me? Take your next big breath. And thank fear for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable, being seen and being heard. It takes courage. Thank you. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, and we're inviting these inner children to once again breathe along with us. You can bring them closer. You can have them sit right against you or on your lap or sometimes even on your shoulders, however this feels right to you. As we take these last few big breaths together, take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a long, slow exhale. Take a deep breath in hold. And as you release, feel softness slip into your whole body and settle in every cell of your body. One more big breath in. And hold. And as you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back or even lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. In a very practical way, the most useful aspect of an exercise like this is asking the question, in the past, how often was sadness perhaps in the driver's seat, being in control of your actions? And could the same be true for anger? Can you look back and realize the moments where anger was in the driver's seat? Or fear? And then how does the driving go when it's sadness, anger, or fear in the driver's seat? Where do we drive to when these inner children are behind the wheel? When we make what is unconscious conscious, as Carl Jung suggests, we're taking a step back and we're listening to sadness, anger, fear. We're allowing these parts of us to be heard and to be held and to be understood. Of course, sadness would react this way. And the same is true for anger and fear, because there is a deep need to be helpful, to show us the worst case scenarios. Let us know this bad thing or that bad thing might happen and we need to try and avoid this. In these moments where you are able to take a step back and listen to and hold these inner children, the question is, who have you stepped into? Which part of you have you taken a backward step into? This part of you that is able to let sadness speak, let anger speak, and let fear speak and be heard. Whatever we want to call this part of us, our soul, our wisdom, our higher self, every time we do an exercise like this, it's very clear who we are putting behind the wheel. How do you drive when it's your soul behind the wheel? Where do you drive to when it's your soul behind the wheel? We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and you are invited to say yours. Let's take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning what it feels like to have my soul behind the wheel. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that every time I am in resistance to what emotions are feeling, when I'm trying to push away things like sadness, anger, fear, when I become involved in a war with those aspects of me, that I'm only making them grab for the wheel more aggressively. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that as I get better at listening to and holding these parts of me like sadness, anger, and fear, the more their own fear calms down and the less they are grabbing for the wheel. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to make the unconscious conscious and form a much deeper understanding of how my own mind works. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for doing your work to learn how to listen to and hold your inner children. That is the surest way to ensure that we don't have our inner children behind the wheel. What does it feel like when you have an inner child behind the wheel? I'm sure we all have some experience of that. How does the driving go then? And where is it that we drive to? And isn't it a lot different with your soul behind the wheel? Pepe, good morning. Thank you for popping into our space today. Quentin, good morning. It's always good to see you here. Thank you, Sunmarie. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Leanne. It's awesome having you here. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Leshna. And whoever else might still be in the background. Have a great day. Remember, we hear this often. Someone says, I want to experience more wholeness. We all want to have that wholeness. It's impossible to experience wholeness while we are at war with a part of ourselves, while we are rejecting a part of ourselves, abandoning a part of ourselves, literally trying to leave a part of ourselves behind. In that case, we'll never be whole. It is only when we're able to bring all the parts of ourselves together and give them all the space and hold them all that we create the wholeness. Have an awesome day. See you soon. Ciao, ciao.